Speaking. Summon. Bijou. Shadow Soldier. Yi pause. Long pause. Yang Hanan. Disclaimer. I own nothing. Chappie 4. Land of Fire. Owari. The clang of a sword and daggers echo as Naruto spars with 10-10. Your skills with the sword is impressive. It's like you're dancing with it, he says, his eyes shining with admiration and a hint of surprise. 10-10 couldn't help but blush slightly at the compliment. It's been a month since his group has come to Owari to meet Ai, but we're still on probation as the second prince investigates several things, mainly things in Konoha concerning him and his leaving. Anytime any of the three leave the castle, they were accompanied by soldiers or Lin herself. Lady Tsunade had me training with a few of Prince Ieyasu's samurai. I have a penchant for weapons as well, 10-10 says, going in Aikido draw. The two have quickly fallen back into their old routine as if 5 years haven't passed since they last saw each other. Naruto avoids 10-10's draw with a somersault into a crouch behind her. Penchant for weapons. Maybe you can give this a good home, he says, his samurai killers going into his inventory. He brings out a katana having a sleek black sheath with intricate designs on the sheath of dragons in gold. The hilt wrapped in black and purple. Its guard is round and etched with dragons in the sky. Kanji for the words sky, fire, and dragon were etched on the blade. I took it off a bandit in Earth Country. The blade is made with chakra metal from iron, Naruto says, holding out the sword horizontally. 10-10 stares at the sword in shock with wide and flickering eyes. You want to give me this sword, she says. Naruto ruffles his hair a little. Yeah. Call it a late birthday present, Panda, he says. 10-10 slowly takes the sword from Naruto and grips it in both hands. Thank you, Foxy, she says. May watches from the shadows with a soft smile, but glances to see Tsunade. You sure you want them to reconnect, the blonde says. I am, but I'll be his first. He deserves a lot of happiness, according to his Aunt Miko, May says, her voice carrying a hopeful note. He is the last male of the Uzumaki. If he settles back in Konoha, those in power will push for him to be put into the CRA, Tsunade says, with a grave tone. I'll only accept 10-10 because she is Naruto's friend and has known him when he was most vulnerable. May comments firmly, making it clear that she trusts 10-10's intentions with Naruto, and Tsunade smirk. Nightfall comes and May strokes Naruto's blonde hair as he falls asleep on her chest. Lady Tsunade told me something, she says, her voice soft but bearing a weight of seriousness. What was? Is it? Naruto says, half asleep, but sensing the importance and listening to her heartbeat. If we go back to Konoha, those in power may want to force the clan revival act on you as the last male of the Uzumaki, May says, gently, ensuring he understands the gravity of their situation. I don't think I could do something like that, Naruto says, the thought of being constrained by such laws unsettling to him. Could you accept? 10-10 May asks, and Naruto looks up into her green eyes. Huh? Naruto says, but May pulls him closer to her chest. 10-10 and I have been talking, getting to know her and her intentions. So we decided that if she gains feelings for you, from there I'll share you with her, May says, and Naruto sighs softly. Do I have a say in this? Naruto says, his voice laced with a mix of confusion and curiosity. No, but would you mind? May says, and Naruto shakes his head. Then we'll need a name for this. When 10-10 joins us, she adds, continuing to stroke his blonde hair until his concerns begin to fade and is comforted by the soothing motions. Naruto finds himself pondering the situation, but is this what 10-10 wants? I mean, have you both talked about this seriously? He says. His voice conveys his concern for all parties involved. We have. It's not a decision we're taking lightly either. We understand it's unconventional, but we care about you. We just want to ensure you're not isolated or feeling left out, Mai explains warmly, her sincerity shining through. Naruto lets out a thoughtful hum as his earlier apprehensions now mingling with a newfound curiosity about the dynamics of their future relationship. And if she does join us, how will this work? I don't want anyone feeling less important, he says. That's something we'll figure out together, May assures, as her voice steady and reassuring. We'll communicate and make sure everyone's feelings and needs are considered. That's the most important part, she adds. Naruto nods slowly as he is comforted by May's words, their unusual scenario becoming less daunting under the light of her understanding and compassionate approach. As the night deepens, their conversation fades into comfortable silence, the only sound the rhythmic breathing of two hearts trying to navigate their unconventional paths together. Until sleep claims them, Naruto is wrapped in the warmth of May's embrace and pondering the future with a cautious optimism. Another month would pass as Naruto, Karen and May settle into life in Owari, with their probation lifted. Each of them train in various facets, with Karen and May learning from Tsunade, but also Shizune as Naruto and May. Both spar constantly, with Ten or Naruto learning Maton from Branwen by using his magic. The ravens teach him a few jutsu like a Shadokuro made of Maton, and can grow in size due absorbing chakra, the skeletal entity starting at 15 times the height of him. He learns to break himself down into ravens as well, but the most interesting is the Ruler of Darkness technique. The jutsu works similar to the Hidden Mist jutsu, but shrouds the area in complete darkness, but it can't fool the Byakugan. However, the Sharingan and Rinnegan are susceptible, which will hide the caster. Renenhan. The prince left in a hurry, Naruto thought, laying on the roof of the meeting hall. Branwen is flying around above him while May and Tenten were training in the countryside. The last month he and Tenten have been drawing closer, threading moments of near confessions amidst their growing bond, yet words of love remained unspoken, captured only in stolen glances and lingering touches. The blonde reaches into his cargo pocket for a flavored cigarette pack, to slip one into his mouth. Kushina would be angry to see you smoke, Makoto, says in her chibi form coming from his body, her voice a mix of concern and teasing. Lame. Zabuza, you need a coping thing, brat, Naruto muses, but doesn't light it. It's a rarity for him to smoke, as he does once every 2 weeks. Yeah, blame me, brat, chibi, Zabuza comments. I plan to, Makoto comments, a trace of amusement in her voice. Naruto ignores them and covers his left eye with his hand to look through several ravens that he has, keeping an eye on Karen, May and Tenten, with shadows attached to Ieyasu, Tsunade and Shizune. The blonde monarch decides on a nap to avoid the persistent Lin, who for some unfathomable reason harbored a dislike for him. About an hour before sunset, Naruto snaps awake as one of his soldiers is suddenly injured. Shadow exchange, he says, swapping with said soldier and finding himself in the thick of a battle. Music. Faust. Mick Gordon. Loop. A few moments before Naruto arrives, Ieyasu is fighting for not just his life, but lives of his wife, Momo, his mother, Jiyu, but also his newborn daughter, Nozomi. The attack is fierce and heavy, as ninja wearing Hitayate, having a musical note attack, Honoji Temple, where his mother lives as a nun, also where his wife is going through labor. Ieyasu leads the charge with his retinue of soldiers, with one of his samurai named Sato Himura alongside him. However, Ieyasu draws the shortest straws as he found himself facing the leader of the assault. Wu, who sent you? Ieyasu says, blood running down his face from a gash above his right eye, and half blurring his vision. His foe is a young man with pale skin, vivid green eyes, angular facial features, 2 scarlet dots on his forehead, and shoulder-length white hair. He has it divided down the middle on his head with a zigzag parting and 2 separate partings on either side of his face. You don't deserve to know. Trash, the foe says, his voice as cold as the chill of the deepest winter. He wears a light lavender, loose-fitting, long-sleeve, zip-up shirt, black pants cut off around his mid-calf, bandages wrapped around his ankles, shinobi sandals, and a purple, rope-like belt tied in an inverted bow around his waist. Ieyasu clenches his sword tightly with the pain momentarily forgotten. "Is that so? What makes you think you can judge me?" he says, but his foe simply stares. "The fact that you're on the verge of defeat says more than enough. You are weak, and the weak don't have the luxury of questions," the foe says, devoid of any emotion. Ieyasu shoots forward for an upward arc strike, but the foe avoids it with ease, driving a white bone-like protrusion from his palm into the prince's leg. Ieyasu cries out in pain and drops his sword, but the foe follows up with a back elbow to his nose, breaking it and spewing more blood.
Weak or not, I've survived until now, and I won't let you or anyone harm those important to me, Ieyasu shouts, swaying slightly but his resolve steady.
"Is that what you call this pitiful existence of yours?" Trash, the foe says, coldly mocking the prince. He then goes for a heavy kick that sends Ieyasu on his back, as stars fill his vision. I can't die. Mamo. Nozomi need me, Ieyasu thought, turning on his back and tries to retrieve his sword. "I'd rather live a pitiful existence than one where I don't recognize myself in the mirror," Ieyasu retorts, wiping the blood from his face with the back of his hand, defiance shining in his eyes as grabs his sword. "You will die here. Do not fret. I will send the woman and baby after you," the foe says, callously. This ignites a fire in Ieyasu as with a war cry swings a Ito-like strike, but the foe blocks his strike. "My bones are as hard as steel. You will not shatter them with such weakness," the foe says, as Ieyasu's sword shatters. The second prince staggers back in shock, but clenches his broken sword, while blood coats half his face. I may not be as strong as a shinobi, but I will not let you kill my wife and child," Ieyasu says, determined to protect Momo and Nozomi to the bitter end. Though raises his left hand with his fingers pointed, and Ieyasu gasps as white bone comes from the foe's fingers, then die. "Teshi Senden," the foe says, and the bone fires. Time seems to slow as Ieyasu sees the drilling bullets coming. His vision hyper-focused, but everything returns to normal as he on his back, with a person made of shadows standing his place. What? Ieyasu says, but his breath hitches, as Naruto suddenly appears in the person's place. The foe charges Naruto, but a wave of the blonde's hand sends him crashing through a tree or two. "It seems you are in need of help, Prince Ieyasu," Naruto says, his back to the prince. I am. They attacked quickly. I rushed to defend my family. Tsunade is protecting them, but I was unluckily pitted against their leader," Ieyasu says, panic lacing his voice. Naruto slowly turns to Ieyasu with his face hidden in shadow but leaving 2 purple orbs. "Then I'll ask you one thing, Prince Ieyasu. Can I kill all those who have attacked this place?" Naruto says, voice is calm and almost unnerving in its steadiness. "Please, help me and my family," Ieyasu says, wincing several times. Naruto kneels and tears off the left sleeve of his black sweater. "Everyone, come out," he says, pulling the bone from Ieyasu's left leg. Makoto and everyone rises from his expanding shadow except Inari, Isobu, and Cerberus, while the blonde ties the prince's leg. "Fugaku, Spot, Taiga, take the prince to his family and defend them. No harm is to come to them," Naruto says, helping Ieyasu to his feet. Taiga lifts the prince carefully with a nod and Spot a thumbs up. "We'll handle it," Taiga says. "Everyone else, go hunting," Naruto says, seeing his foe on his feet. Makoto and the others vanish as Naruto rolls his shoulders with the scorching gauntlets crawling up his arms to his shoulders. "More trash come to die," the foe says. "Kimimaro, strange black things have begun attacking. We need," one of the enemies says, running up, but Kimimaro fires his finger bullets through her head. Kaguya Naruto thought and tilts his head. Why would a Kaguya involve themselves in fire country, he says. It is none of your concern, trash. You will die here along with Prince and his family, Kimimaro says.
Not happening, Naruto says, as both rush each and the blonde leaps into 540 kick but Kimimaro avoids it into crouch. He shoots his palms towards Naruto as bones shoot out to stab him but he turns into an unkindness of ravens. Kimimaro whips around to block a flying sidekick and Naruto uses that to somersault back to punch forward as he lands to disturb the air, forcing Kimimaro right but the Kaguya goes in with a series of swipes with his palm blades and adding a few kicks to the mix as well.
Your bones? They are the weapons of the Kaguya. The Shikatsumaku, Naruto exclaims, ducking another bone spike. Yes, and they will be your end. Kimimaro replies coldly, his eyes narrowing as he prepares another attack. His taijutsu is impressive. His speed, agility and dexterity are high caliber, Naruto thought, avoiding a leaping split kick from Kimimaro. He's avoiding my Yanagi no matter. I'll show him my Tsubaki no mai, Kimimaro thought, unzipping his top halfway. His upper left arm undulates as the upper arm bone slowly rises from his skin, and Kimimaro fashions it into a sword. I have to call this a fortunate opportunity. I didn't get to meet a Kaguya during my time in Miss, Naruto says, lowering his stance to spring forward. Meeting me will be the last of your fortunate opportunities. Kimimaro retorts, ice in his voice as he advances with blade at the ready. Their dance of combat resumes with increased ferocity, each blow and counter telling a story of two warriors pushing their limits. Naruto meet Kimimaro with a snapping six-piece jab combo, but the Kaguya blocks with his bone sword into several stabs coming from a slightly different angle each time. Is that all you've got? Kimimaro says, his bone sword deflecting each blow with ease, with each counterattack a stabbing motion coming from a slightly different angle. Kimimaro quickly changes the regularity of his strikes, with a few getting through due to the constant and chaotic strikes. Naruto sends Kimimaro skidding from a concussive punch and rockets forward to slice his cheek, with Inari's fangs coming from his inventory. Kimimaro's vision begins to blur and his left eye bloodshot, but a tattoo of 3 slightly curved lines on his chest over his manubrium begins to spread in a rip-like pattern. Your death is assured now. My clan's power is beyond your comprehension, Kimimaro says, a sinister cold in his voice. The marking on his chest turns orange-red and expands in lines, spreading and contorting in parallel lines. Kimimaro blitzes forward with increased speed, and his chaotic movements force Naruto to put a little distance between them into using ruler's authority to drive the Kaguya into the ground. Naruto leaps as Kimimaro is still pinned and clenches his right fist as his gauntlet glows. Scorching bullet, he thought, his focus laser sharp and bringing his fist down on Kimimaro's spine to crack the ground under him. Naruto leaps back as Kimimaro lays motionless, but remains on guard. That attack would do most, in the blonde thought. Kimimaro begins to move to all fours, his resilience becoming apparent as his skin begins to turn a dark gray. No one, not even Lord Orochimaru, has seen this form, Kimimaro says, his voice low and threatening as he looks up with his teeth much sharper than before. His eyes' sclera has bled black, transforming his once green eyes into a sickly yellow. 6 large bone spines protrude out of his back menacingly. A long bone-spiked tail slaps the ground with a thud, and 2 dark curved markings form under his eyes, 1 under each eye, and 2 more serving as elongated, sinister eyebrows. Naruto brings out his Inari's fangs once again, but Kimimaro tackles the blonde and spears them into a tree, with Naruto spitting up some blood. The blonde brings down his daggers into Kimimaro's shoulders to deliver more poison, before breaking down into an unkindness once again. That will not kill me, Kimimaro says, turning to face the reforming blonde with an air of disdain. Naruto spits a glob of blood away. Oh, it will, he says, crossing both blades over one another. Kimimaro lowers himself while struggling a little to maintain his balance and slowly pulls out his spinal cord to make a whip-like weapon. Tasenka no Mai? Suru, he says, and the atmosphere between them thickens with anticipation. Naruto switches his Inari's fangs for Zabumaru, as Kimimaro shoots forward with strike of his whip, but Naruto avoids it, leaping and sending Raiden through Zabumaru with a whip strike of his own. Kimimaro parries it and wraps his whip around the sword to yank it free from Naruto's hands, but is quick to adapt, punching the air to hit the Kaguya in chest.
Sutenkyaku, Naruto thought, Shun shining above Kimimaro for a heel dropkick to his head and it feel like hitting a steel beam. He quickly uses Inari's fangs once again to slash Kimimaro before he recovers and leaps away as the Kaguya slashes at him. He slowly struggles to his feet as Naruto remains on guard, but the blonde sees bone beginning to coil around Kimimaro's left arm. Tesenka no Mai. Hana, Kimimaro hisses. The last Kaguya lowers his stance as Naruto sends his daggers away for a moment and weaving signs before Kimimaro rockets forward.
Maton. Gashadakuro, Naruto thought, as his shadow aura expands and begins to form a skeletal entity about 10 times his height. It leans down to block Kimimaro and throw him off course, but the Kaguya grazes the blonde's side, and Naruto clutches his side while leaping away. Naruto quickly weaves signs once again to a ram sign. Meton, ruler of darkness technique, he says, before everything around them becomes sheer darkness. Kimimaro looks around but could see nothing. What has he done, he says, confusion lining his tone, as the darkness shrouds his vision completely. Welcome to my world, Kimimaro. Can you fight what you cannot see, or will your other senses compensate? Naruto says as his voice echoes around, taunting and distant. I don't need my eyes to defeat you. Kimimaro shouts as he hears voices and feels something slice into his body. He tries to use his bone whip but also hits only shadows before loud pings hit his body. Is this the extent of your power, Kimimaro? Fighting shadows while your real enemy stands unscathed. Naruto teases. His voice seems to come from everywhere and leaving Kimimaro unable to pinpoint his location. I will not be defeated by the likes of you. My bones can cut through darkness itself. Kimimaro yells, but the darkness only thickens, suffocating him as if mocking his resolve. You're going to die here, Kaguya. But don't worry. You'll serve me well, voices say in unison. The air is thick with malice, with a sinister promise lingering in their midst. Kimimaro grits his teeth in anger and prepares to use his Sawarabi. No Mai, but suddenly blood spews from his mouth as his vision blurs. I can't die. I need to return to Lord Orochimaru, Kimimaro whispers, desperation coloring his tone. But something cold presses to the back of his skull, while his limbs become numb and unable to move. You'll see Orochimaru again. However, as a member of my army, Naruto says, the cold edge in his voice sharper than a kunai's blade, and pulls the trigger of ebony. Kimimaro crashes forward, but it takes a further 6 shots to penetrate his skull and destroy his brain. He slowly returned to a human visage as Naruto brings down his ruler of darkness, Jutsu. Arise, Naruto says, but nothing happens. Arise, he says, but again nothing. Arise, he says thrice, and a shadow hand emerges from Kimimaro's body. His shadow soldier resembles his transformed state as he kneels to one knee in service of his new master. Song ends. Uyanenhan. Naruto winces as Shizune looks over his wound to his side, while her hands glow a light green. Prince Ieyasu owes his life to you, she says, sitting on the steps of the temple with soldiers guarding the area. He had raised all the attackers through a few clones, while several had fled back to whatever snake hole they were hiding in. Tsunade was here. I'm sure she would have been a force, Naruto says, a hint of admiration in his voice. Perhaps, but we were concerned with Princess Momo and her child, but also Prince Ieyasu's injuries, Shizune says, her tone carrying the weight of their situation. And signaling she is finishing up. The blonde pulls his shirt down with a silent thank you etched on his face for the care he's been given. They head inside the temple to see Ieyasu, sitting on his futon next to his wife, Momo's futon, as she nurses their daughter Nozomi. Momo has long snow-white hair having a tinge of pink to it and kind blue eyes. Her newborn Nozomi, resembling her but having Ieyasu's eyes? Naruto, thank you saving my family, and Ieyasu says, his voice filled with genuine gratitude yet heavy with the responsibility of what had been risked. He's right, Tsunade says, checking his bandaged leg and forehead. What will you do, my lord? This attack reeks of your brother, Saito says, cutting through the tension. He is a tall man with a lean but fit frame, pronounced cheekbones, and a cross-shaped scar is on his left cheek. His eyes are yellow and give off the air of a wolf. He's dressed in a dark military uniform and a katana strapped to his hip. Prince Nabutatsu would actually convince the likes of Orochimaru to aid him, Naruto says, rubbing his chin pensively. It's not out realm of possibility. Nobutatsu has shown he'll stop at nothing to get the throne. Even if not proven and is just conjecture, Danzo has helped him. That damn Warhawk would jump at this chance to aid the first prince, which could lead to him becoming Hulkage, Tsunade says, her concern evident in her furrowed brows. Ieyasu quietly stares at his wounded leg, but then to his wife and child as a turmoil of emotions swirling within. My own brother tried to kill them. Just to get to me, he thought, as a soft hand rests on his shoulder. Jiu touches her forehead to his temple but says nothing, as her demeanor is enough to steady his shaken heart. After his father died, she came to Anoji to live out the rest of her life as a nun. But that mattered not to his brother. When will I be fully healed? Ieyasu asks, his voice carrying a gravity that seems to pull at the very air of the room. 2 weeks to month, Tsunade replies with clinical precision, yet not devoid of warmth. It is time for this succession war to end. My brother's actions on this day have proven I need to be more decisive. I can no longer just win with my words, but with my actions, Ieyasu says, and look to the blonde standing by the doorway, Naruto Uzumaki. Phantom, will you lend me your strength, he adds, a challenge and a plea interwoven in his voice. Naruto pushes off the wall by the doorway and approaches the second prince to kneel next to him with his head down. You will have it, my lord, he says, his voice steady and resolute. A week later in Ekimichiwari, Nobutatsu tosses his sake bottle into a wall after being threatened by Orochimaru for losing his prized Kimimaro. The room is thick with tension, the shard of the broken bottle reflecting the dim light. How could this happen? Nobutatsu hisses, his voice barely contained. It's as if Ieyasu has the gods on his side, Miyako says, her eyes gleaming with an unpredictable mix of fear and fascination, but betraying a hint of respect for their enemy. Nobutatsu slams his fist on the table, causing the remaining sake cups to jump, his wife now his heir. While I have neither, he muses bitterly, the weight of his own words sinking in. And with this recent attack, he'll become more fierce in battle, but he'll be less inclined to enter the battlefield himself, Miyako says, trying to analyze their opponent's next move. That's it. Nobutatsu starts, his eyes light up with a blend of malice and excitement. We'll have Uncle Sanada take one of his forts near his border, the one in Hoppy. It will serve as entrance for our army, which I will lead, Nobutatsu says, a plan forming in the depths of his mind. Miyako approaches and placing a hand on his shoulder with a sly smile forming on her lips. A bold move. Nobutatsu, she praises her son, but let us not forget the strength of Ieyasu's resolve. Your uncle, my brother, must tread carefully, she adds. Nobutatsu shakes off her caution as his confidence is swelling with his ambition. Watch me, mother, he says with a fierce determination. I will bring Ieyasu to his knees, and all will know the might of Nobutatsu Oda. Fire, Lord, he boasts. Miyako steps back to observe the fire in her son's eyes, but she wonders, not for the first time, whether his hunger for victory and power might be his greatest strength or his most perilous weakness. But the path is chosen and their fates now intertwined with the forthcoming battles. Little did son and mother know this critical decision, fueled by pride and the desire for power, would come to be one they would regret deeply. Yanenhan. A month later, Ieyasu with his young family, We're back in Owari with both mother and daughter doing well. But it was not all good news as Sanada. Toyomiya has taken one of the larger forts guarding Owari lands. Saito and Iyasu's military advisor Nao Kanetsugu believe Nobutatsu will use this fort as a staging ground for a larger force. Toyomiya has hunkered down in Fort Happy with small raiding parties hitting the surrounding villages. Nao says, his brow furrowed in contemplation. He is a good-looking man with dark hair and a top-knot, brown eyes, and wearing dark samurai attire with kiziru in his mouth. Ieyasu stares at the map in thought while Saito points to small forts to the west and east of Happy. And what of the forts to the west and east of Happy? Ieyasu queries, voice steady but laced with concern. Saito leaned forward with his pointer gliding over the map to rest on two small icons representing the forts in question. Sanada may send forces to secure these forts, which will give the enemy a corridor to move a larger force unimpeded, he says. What do you suggest? We must act swiftly to prevent giving Toyomiya the opportunity to strengthen his position, Ieyasu asks, breaking the heavy silence that has formed, the weight of their predicament hanging in the air like a thick fog. Sanada leads a force of about 200 with 2 samurai, the Hinaka brothers. I suggest we reinforce the 2 smaller forts. Lin can take her on Mitsukido to the eastern fort, while Saito can lead a force to the western fort, Nao says, adding tactical depth to their strategy. That leaves Sanada himself and the Hinaka brothers. Things hinge on Sanada going for the smaller forts and spreading out his forces, Saito comments, his analytical mind assessing every possible outcome. Even if he does not, we will strike at the head of the snake, Ieyasu says, his voice embodying a leader's determination. Are we going to kill Sanada? Saito says, but Ieyasu shakes his head. No, we will capture Toyomiya and possibly the Hinaka brothers. Most of my brother's forces are conscripted men and women. We capture Toyomiya. They may surrender to us, Ieyasu says, revealing a strategy that leans towards minimizing bloodshed.
Capturing Sanada also puts pressure on the Toyomiya. Consort Miyako treasures her brother, Ieyasu adds, hinting at the intricate web of relationships that bind their foes.
Think so? She did have her younger brother but also 3 cousins and her niece killed. According to rumors, Saito says, questioning the reliability of using family ties as leverage. Regardless, we need to be coordinated in attacking Happy. Speed and coordination are key here, Naoe concludes, emphasizing the necessity of a flawless execution for their plan to succeed. Which is why I'll have Naruto, Uzumaki, Mai Terumi and Tenten joining me in attacking Happy, Ieyasu says, his voice carrying the weight of command. As Iyasu's words hang in the air, Tenten is moving through the forest in search of Naruto after Mai told he was doing some night training to better control shadows. She finds Naruto on a hill meditating with Branwen on his left shoulder, and the raven sees her. Panda! Panda! Panda, she caws, flying off. The night air seems cooler than before as Tenten approaches the blonde with her steps hesitant but determined. Mai had given her a pep talk on a few occasions the past month about her feelings towards him, but found herself retreating, her courage dissipating like mist under the sun. Naruto Tenten begins, but her voice is barely above a whisper. Can I talk to you? She adds much louder. Naruto looks over his shoulder with a nod, but his blue eyes were curious yet welcoming as he gets to his feet and dusts off his rear. His eyes are a feature she most enjoys about him, as they were like 2 sapphires, becoming a fierce amethyst when using his monarch abilities. His whiskers were fun to mess with, but they were gone now, though his cheeks were still sensitive. What's on your mind? Naruto asks. Tenten takes a deep breath and musters all the courage she needs to finally let her feelings out. Well, I've been thinking a lot about us, she says, and Makoto squeals from Naruto's shadow as he tilts his head slightly. We've been friends since we were little, playing with toys, sneaking food when the matrons didn't let you eat, helping you read when no one else would help, spending time together during our brief time at the academy. Now we've reunited and our friendship has progressed into something more, Tenten says. Naruto's expression softens with a small smile on his face, and moves closer to her. "I have to agree," he says, and places a hand on her shoulder. "I wouldn't be the same without you," he adds. Tenten smiles with a mixture of relief and happiness, lighting up her features. "I know you have, May, but I want to be by your side. But not just as your friend. I want to be someone who cares for you deeply," she says, almost losing herself in his eyes. "Then we'll try. You. Me and May," Naruto says, and Tenten nods with pink cheeks. A distance away from the hill, May watches with a smile gracing her lips, while the stars seem to shine brighter above them. Renenhan. In Hobby Fortress, Sanda Toyomiya sits quietly as his fellow samurai, the Hinaka brothers, as they celebrate taking this fort with Awari land wine, while he drinks some tea. Their takeover of the fort went smoothly, as they were able to overwhelm the initial defenses rather quickly with their sheer numbers. His next plan is to send forces to take over the forts to the east and west, to prepare for a larger force led by Nobutatsu. "My nephew has never fought in a real battle or led soldiers, but I must aid him," Sonata thought. He has gray hair with a scar on his neck, wearing dark green and silver samurai armor. He has a sworn oath to his nephew due to his sister, but also as the firstborn son of Lord Oda. Succession is clear, but Ieyasu has proven to a better choice, causing this succession war to be born and unlike his power-hungry sister. He believes in honor and respect, but his nephew's choices or actions were weakening the country as a whole. "Aha. I told you this was going to be easy," the older of the Hinaka brothers, Shinso, says. His younger brother Hayama nods his head with several gulps of wine. "Our lord is overestimating the bastard. He is the younger brother, and our place is to serve our older brothers. It is high time he learns his place," he says, savoring the warmth as it slides down his throat. "We were successful so far because we were able to catch their forces unaware. However, despite their lethargic response, do not underestimate the enemy force," Sonata says.
"Ha, they just ran away in fear when they saw us approaching," Shinso says, thinking he could see something that not even the older man could see.
"We must exert caution. I plan to send out scouts to the forts west and east, to prepare for us to take them over before Ieyasu marshals a response," Sonata says, thinking that Ieyasu will come himself. "We don't need scouts," Shinso says, and Hayama nods as both brothers drain their glasses of wine. "They are rats, whoever the upstart sends. We will crush them like rats, and Lord Nobutatsu will march into Owari. Burn the upstart's castle down and slave away their women," Hayama says, smirking at a memory of Ieyasu's wife. "Momo." Something his brother thought, as well as both brothers believe they'll get a chance to have their way with Ieyasu's wife.
"Will the two of you ignore the rumors that Phantom has joined Ieyasu's forces?" Sonata says, after a sip of tea, and both Hinaka brothers look at the elder samurai.
According to his bingo book entry, he fought in Mist's civil war and killed a Jinchuriki. Such a power turns the tide further in Ieyasu's favor, Sonata says. "Ha! I don't believe that," Shinso says. Sonata knows that despite leading this force of 200 built from conscripted people in lands controlled by his family or Nobutatsu, the brothers were too hot-headed and balk at his orders constantly. Old age has caught up to him and his chosen heir in the form of his daughter, discussing as her twin brother would lead the family in service of whomever won this war. The aged samurai would test Hideyoshi's second son to see if he can lead Fire Country. "Ohatsu knows what to do when I fall or I am captured. Miyako, Nobutatsu, you've shown that power can corrupt, but has it corrupted?" Ieyasu, Sonata thought, a stern look in his eyes as he watched the Hinaka brothers' incessant drinking. "Come on, old man, we have the strength. The men. Let Ieyasu come. We'll show him the might of Lord Nobutatsu's army," Shino says, raising his cup and drinking more wine. Santa shakes his head slightly with his weary eyes observing the flickering flames. "Strength without wisdom is a blade pointed towards one's own heart. You would do well to remember that," he says, but Shino scoffs, something his brothers share a sentiment with. Wisdom. Ha! Old man. You worry too much with Lord Nobutatsu's strategy and our might. No fort can withstand us, Hayama boasts, his chest puffed out in pride, but neither brother noticed Sanada's troubled gaze. 2 weeks would pass as no counterattack happens, which emboldens the Hinaka brothers to burn 2 villages to the ground, but Nobutatsu's orders were such, despite Sanada's misgivings. He sends scouts out, but learns Ieyasu has bolstered both forts, and would be coming to take back Hapi. Fire. Get some water. We're under attack. Echoes through the fort, a day after learning of Ieyasu's force coming. The shouts reach Sanada as he reaches the courtyard to see a storehouse on fire, but also the watchtower and shouts of fires coming from their army encampments. What is going on? Shinso shouts, reaching the courtyard with his brother. All of them see a large unkindness of ravens hitting the watchtower before a loud roar echoes. What is that? It has 3 heads, one soldier shouts. Arm yourselves, Sanada shouts, drawing his sword as the Hinaka brothers do the same. Cerberus leaps over the walls with ease, landing with large dust up as the 3 samurai and soldiers ready themselves. But the 3-headed beast swirls with black-purple energy. The swirling energy breaks down to change into Naruto with his mask on, Mei with her hood obscuring her face, Tenten with her new sword on her side, and of all people, Ieyasu dressed for battle. He wears a black hakama with a matching kosode that has a yellow patch on his shoulder. Armor in the form, a shoulder guard attached to his left shoulder. Chest armor is attached at the waist with a red obi, a segmented bracer on his left arm, and segmented shin guard over his horse riding boots. Prince Ieyasu, Sanada says, with the Hinaka brothers flanking him. Sanada. Toyomiya Ieyasu says, tension thick in the air as the 2 groups face off. The Hinaka brothers, being the ever brash and bold warriors, let their eyes wander towards Ten and Mei, and barely concealing their lecherous intents with poorly veiled smirks. Sanada. Toyomiya. I urge you to lay down your arms and surrender. Ieyasu says, his tone leaving no room for negotiation. Pa! It should be you who surrenders. Shinso retorts sharply, his voice laced with disdain. You were a fool to come here with just 3 allies, Hayama adds, his sneer directed at Ieyasu and his small entourage. Naruto shifts his hidden eyes as his black hair flutters slightly in the tense air, but sees a few soldiers with bows trained at them. The 4 of us are more than enough against the likes of you, Naruto says, a mocking tone coloring his words perfectly designed to irk the Hinaka brothers. Fire! Shinso suddenly commands, rage overtaking reason. Stop! Sanada shouts, but it is too late as arrows careen towards the 4, while Naruto grins behind his mask. He raises his left hand towards the 3 samurai and uses ruler's authority to halt the arrows to the shock of everyone but his side.